Hey, what's going on YouTube? Today is April 19th, 2012, Thursday night, and welcome back to the You Can Have a Coke Show YouTube edition once again. On tonight's episode, we're going to do a continuation of part 2 of the Atlanta Housewives reunion. So, while waiting, let's get started right now. So, just like I said in my previous video, the first time a reunion is when, everyone comes together from the season and talk about what happened throughout the season. So it started off with Cynthia and her husband Peter and with her sister Mal. Mal all season long, who doesn't, care too much for Peter, and Peter feels the same way about Mallory because, I guess Mallory doesn't feel like Peter is the right one. Last season, they hid the marriage license, which was very disrespectful and very shady, but they moved on from that, and a year later they're still together. Um, Basically their whole season was they didn't get over the fact that that Mallory and her mother, Cynthia's mother, did the marriage license. I mean, that's a hurtful feeling for anyone to possibly go through. But I'm sure that was something for the camera. But at the end of the day, they don't like each other. Basically, all Cynthia wants them to do is just respect each other. Respect Mallory, respect Peter, which is totally understandable. You don't have to like each other, but this is the person that I'm going to be with, so respect that fact, because he ain't going nowhere. Okay, and they say they can't predict the future of what's going to happen between them. No one can. So, Mallory, mind your business. You have a husband, worry about him, and Cynthia would do the same. On to the next topic. Peter and Nene, so-called, flirting and everything. They have an interesting friendship. I wouldn't necessarily call it flirting, with one another. I mean, I don't really know what they do outside the camera, but they are good friends. And if Cynthia can respect it and don't have no jealousy over Nene, I don't know why anyone else would. I mean, it is what it is. Nene has her man going through a divorce, probably still sleeping with Greg and whatnot. We don't know. We only know what we see, of course. So at the end of the day, I guess they're just good friends and they can relate. They can relate to each other because I guess they're similar. They say what's on their mind, and they just have a good friendship. And if Cynthia doesn't worry about it, I guess no one else should too. On to the guy. So the husbands were on as well. So we had Apollo, we had Peter, we had Croy. This segment got kind of boring because really when you see men argue on a reality TV show, especially something like the Atlanta Housewives, it doesn't really get any type of buzz. It it was just stupid. Yeah, they get up each other's face. They back down. It's never no finger pointing. It's never no bitch this and bitch that. It is what it is. You want to see me, we can go. And basically they touched bases on that when they was at Croy's and Kim's baby shower. Peter and Apollo, it was just something so stupid, and basically they thought Phaedra started the whole situation because Peter wrote an article talking negative about them, and Phaedra, that was the first time Phaedra saw Peter in about five months and whatnot. So she addressed the situation at the baby shower. I guess wrong place, wrong time, and I didn't think it would have escalated into that form. Once again, this is reality TV, so it got to be drama somewhere. And if you notice throughout the whole season, every time they have a function, some shit always go down. So at the end of the day, it is what it is. So on to more drama. The Black Babies. This were Kim, Candy, Cynthia, and Sheree, horseface, shady ass, comes in. Now, all of a sudden, Sheree apologizes for misconstruing not Kim's, Candy's words, and she apologized on TV. You know what? That whole situation to me with the shady and how Sheree went back and called Kim and immediately, basically just snitched. And I still can't get over that. That would make me not like Sheree this season. and at all anymore, because she is a shady bitch and she does throw people under the bus, as Phaedra stated in part one of the reunion. It was a shady, it wasn't called for. She wanted some shit to go down, and it ain't what you do, it's how you say it, and how she said it was just totally uncalled for. And by looking at the tapes, Cynthia didn't even say nothing about a black baby. They just said something. I don't see Kim at an orphanage in Africa, because Kim always making up some form of excuse of not doing a certain thing, which is true. They even weighed Nene's opinion on it. They were like, well, Nene don't know what was said in the van because she wasn't there, but she said it's just a Kim thing, because Kim always makes excuses at the last minute, and which is true. Personally, I mean, I don't know none of these ladies personally. For what I see, I can understand what Kim and not Kim, I'm sorry, Candy, Cynthia, and Nene was coming from, because Kim is always saying something, is always complaining. Something always got to be perfect with her and whatnot. So they touch bases on that. I guess they're over it now. Candy mentioned that was their only problem that they ever got into it. It was just it was just a lot over nothing really. I don't think Kim is honestly. I don't think Kim is racist. Kim does do some shady things and say some stuff sometimes to make you think maybe she is, maybe she isn't. I know Croy does. Because they let Sweetie go. Um, I guess it was a business venture. I know Croy had a lot to do with it, but Sweetie been with Kim working for over 12 years. As soon as Croy gets into the picture, she got to bounce. So whatever. Moving on, Marlo. This is who I waited for all night. Marlo come out gracefully. Very uppity, very bougie, very high class. She addressed the situation. Um, how they know each other. She met Sheree and Phaedra first. She met Sheree first through Lawrence because they shared the same hairstylist. Lawrence is a totally different story, but how they escalate, and how Nene and her became good friends. Nene thinks she's real. She's tall. She stands for what she believes in, and basically they became friends. They shop together, they gossip together. We all know that Marlo has a background of 7 charges of assault, whatever she did. But the drama of the night, it wasn't much drama tonight, except was with Marlo and Kim. Andy made a comment about Kim saying something about Marlo and her hole, and Marlo said she didn't nothing meant it at first, and she regrets it now after watching the tapes back and saying, what, Kim, I thought we were alike, and I laughed, and all of a sudden she just bust out, "You're a whore." Before you measure the whole between, like, measure yours. You're a whore. And it was just so funny. It was just so graceful how she said it. And they went at it, saying that, your Big Papa paid for that ring and you ain't got shit paid for in that damn house. You're renting out the house. Honestly, I don't know how Marlo knows all this information, but it did sound kind of accurate because, Kim got heated. It was just funny. And next week, which is this Sunday, hopefully it's this Sunday, the part three of the reunion. It's gonna go down. Candy and Marlo gonna get into it. Kim and Sheree, not Kim. Kim and Cynthia's gonna get into it. Nene and Sheree's gonna get into it. So I'm looking forward to the conclusion of this spectacular, great reunion. One of the best I've ever seen so far. Part one is better than part two. Part two was a snore fest, but it had some funny moments in it. Before I do go, I did leave out Phaedra. Andy had a segment on Phaedra saying about the funeral home. It was a little boring, but she answered the questions so gracefully. No holds bar at all. She went straight through it, very professional. She's a very classy lady. That's what I love about Phaedra. She'll read you down, but she'll read you down in a classy way. But round two definitely goes to Marlo. And Marlo only was on camera on set for like what 5-6 minutes, through commercial with that timing. So with that being said, I can't wait to tune into part three. So make sure if you haven't seen part one, go check it out. I am Ernest. Please subscribe. Please like. Please comment. Let me know how you felt about the reunion. And until next time, you can have a Coke. See you later.